Hi, Professor. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, ma'am. Myself, Pranjay, this side from Upgrad Live Session team.
Okay,
I'll be a coordinator from Upgrad for today.
sure.
Uh, I believe we are still the learners are joining in, so we can probably wait for 2 to 3 more minutes, and then we can begin with the live session. Also, I'm dropping you my number in the chat box, so if there's anything required during the live session, please feel free to give me a call. I'll join back again.
Okay, I'll do that.
Sure. Thank you.
Good evening, Jyotish ma'am. Good evening. So hope my audio and video are fine for you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes, we'll wait for 1 more minute, after which we'll start with the session. Okay. So today we are going to go ahead with session 2, wherein we are going to talk about the left out coverage on forecasting. So previous session we saw about the qualitative forecasting. So today we are going to talk on quantitative forecasting, and of course, yes, we are going to do workouts on Excel. So did you attempt the simulation? And yeah, good evening, Sunny. Good evening, Eunice. Uh, good evening, those who have joined now. Yeah, Jyotishman, you attempted that? Fine, fine. So yeah, good evening to all of you. So hope that was fine for you, Jyotishman. So no issues. You were able to do that simulation. No doubts, nothing, right? Comparatively, that is fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So Eunice, I would suggest you to attempt you by tomorrow. Okay. Please finish off the trial run by tomorrow, all of you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So I know you all will be waiting for the weekend to come. Yeah, fine. So we shall proceed with the session. And yes, of course, those who have joined now, again, a good evening, a warm good evening to all of you. So without further delay, we'll just go on with today's session. Hope all of you can view my screen. So my audio, video, everything is fine for you. After or not, we shall proceed. Yeah, thank you so much. So today, as I told you in the first session itself, that we are going to see about the second part on forecasting techniques, so which is the quantitative one. The first session we completely saw about the qualitative forecasting, what are the techniques and where exactly they need to be used. Okay, okay. Chat option is set to hosts and panelists. I will do that to everyone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Usually they used to set that. Yeah, yeah. I have. Yeah, it has been set as everyone only. So check your chat box, Vijay. Yeah, yes. Yeah, Vijay. Fine. And this is our session plan. We are in the second session on quantitative demand forecasting methods. And this is our session agenda where we'll be talking on what exactly is quantitative technique and a small case study on that. And then we are going to see in detail about the quantitative techniques exactly. So the time series and the causal models. And finally, HBR case on which model to use at which instance is what we are going to see. So this we have seen already last session itself on the qualitative and the quantitative and to understand the difference. So just to brush through, qualitative basically, as we discussed earlier also, so it is more of a subjective in nature. So judgmental, it is based on the human judgments, the human experience, based on the previous knowledge, whatever you have gathered on any respective area, so that you contribute towards the decision making. So that's on the qualitative techniques. Most probably when this qualitative technique, especially market research or panel consensus methods, will be done is when there is a new product launch. When there is a new product launch, when there is a new brand launch, new category launch, new vertical launch, anything which is new of its kind, where there is no previous or historic data available. So that will compel you to go for qualitative technique. So absence of historic data will force anyone to go for qualitative techniques. And yeah, both of them have their own pros and cons. Yes, quantitative on the other hand, it is completely mathematical in nature. So in that means we have a past data, so with which we are able to do some comparisons, apply some algorithms, test it, and then you can just forecast, you can predict what is going to be the futuristic demand or sales, increase or decrease in demand or sales, so such things, so that when you come back to your production, that is the supply chain aspect, it becomes handy, the results becomes handy for you to decide on what to produce, when to produce, how much to produce. So all those details, it will be hands-on if you go on with your quantitative technique, right? Fine. So which is better? It is more of a debate, and we cannot say that this method is better compared to the other method. It is all about where we are applying the methods respectively. So when there is a new product, you cannot be adamant saying that I need a mathematical model to be tested. I need hands-on data available to go on with, to further proceed with my production, which is not possible. So where you are using which data, which technique matters a lot with the available data in hand. So that's why it is used, qualitative always is used in the design of the product when it is completely new. And of course, it provides details on human behavior, your needs, your desires. And obviously, there is a restriction when we talk about the qualitative technique, that is the number of participants. If the population, if you take the entire population, so a inference from that will be your sample size. And selecting the right sample size is the greatest challenge. So people make mistake when they select a wrong sample size for testing their data. So for example, if you want to launch a chat app, okay, online chat app, focusing on a specific category of users, maybe college students and all that. Fine. So if before that, if you want to, your category of respondents are within the age group of 18 to 35. And in that case, when you go to a mall, circulate a, what is that, newsletter or a pamphlet asking and collecting data of all the mall visitors. So that is a wrong sample you are targeting on, because the product what you have in mind, that is a chat app for the youngsters or usage of any specific category of people, sample. Fine. So in that case, going and collecting database from the entire population is a wrong focus on the sample size. So that has to be kept in mind always when it is a qualitative data. And moreover, it is more time consuming, because most of it's going to be on one-to-one basis, the surveys, the questionnaires, what you flow. So all these are going to be time consuming. Obviously, it is going to be very costly also, So you need to be very focused on the type of the data and the type of respondents you are going to focus upon. So that is the major lacuna as far as the qualitative technique is concerned. Obviously, both the models infer from each other. So initially, when you are launching a new product, you are launching a new brand, so you do not have sufficient data. But over a period of time, maybe within a month or two, you will get some data which becomes a base for you to go on further build a model on quantitative technique. So both these qualitative as well as quantitative can infer from each other, can infer data, can infer resources from each other. Quantitative, on the other hand, they obviously helps us in taking business decisions. That too, from the supply chain perspective, if you see, if you have a concrete data in hand that this is going to be the demand in future. So maybe mobile phone sales, when pandemic came, so everyone, each one of us were compelled to buy more number of mobiles and laptops. One for the personal use, one for the professional use, this, that, and all that. And those who were not familiar, even the school students were compelled to go in for smartphones or laptops because such was the demand. So if you want to correctly understand what is going to be the increase or dip in sales or demand, so your data, your quantitative testing will help you out to a greater extent. From pandemic, you might have understood that yes, there is going to be increase in demand. But what is the demand exactly? What is the size of increase in demand? What is the percentage increase in the demand? So only then you can come back and plan your production operations accordingly. So it helps to a greater extent in taking business decisions. So how much more capital you need to invest, how much more man hours you need to invest, how much more inventory you need to plan. So all these decisions will be taken by you only if you have a concrete data in your hand. Right. And obviously in quantitative, we have an advantage of having more participants because across the globe, you can have the participants, you can collect the data because thanks to the online platform and the technology improvement, which has made or brought the entire globe under a single platform. So anything is possible with the usage of technology, and that is what is used in quantitative technique as well. Fine. So that's the basics. So going forward, we are going to see more on what are the types of quantitative techniques. And similar to qualitative technique, we understood where it has to be applied correctly. So that's what we are going to see in today's session also, where respective quantitative techniques will be applied. So let's understand the basics first. There are basically two types of quantitative technique. One is the time series and the other one is the causal. So you all might have heard these names. Okay. So let's see. Not doing perfect analysis, forecasting also will lead any company. See, so far we used to deal case studies on success stories, how using this technique, this brand has excelled well, how they have increased their sales, all those things. So for a change, I thought, so why not? By not using a proper forecasting technique, how brands have also not have not made to their success, have not taken the success route. I thought I'll cover that case study today. So that's how I wanted just to take you through a Starbucks case study quickly. So you all know Seattle, Washington-based coffee giant, uh, founded in 1971, the largest coffee house chain so far, with 34,000 plus stores in 84 markets in total across the globe, and most famous coffee chain in the world, unique customer experience, and 10-minute rule of Starbucks. All these are USPs. 10-minute rule in the sense 10 minutes before and after the exact working hours, they need to keep the stores open. So that any customer comes before, yes, they shouldn't be turned down saying that the store is still not open. And so is the case when they close the stores as well. So all these are USPs for Starbucks. But so having so much of success secrets behind and a very, very popular and renowned brand, but when they went to Australia, so it was not a very good experience for Starbucks. So they entered Australian market because they didn't do the forecasting properly. So what went wrong? for Starbucks in Australia. Obviously, they opened their first store in Australia in 2000, and they were forced to close 61 of its 87 stores by 2008. See the number. And why did they fail? Very badly, especially in a coffee loving country, Australia. Thing is, there are few aspects. Australian coffee culture, that is the failure to assess the coffee culture on the whole. See, as such, as Australia had a very good coffee culture, cafe culture. So, because usually in India, this cafe culture was so very new to us since Coffee Day came up with that experience. That gave us the experience. Earlier, we all had a habit of going to a restaurant, a coffee shop or a tea shop, just have it and then come out. So we really didn't have any cafe experience before that. So only after Coffee Day came into that business, so we all understood that cafe is an experience and having something is a completely different experience there. That's what. But Australia, it was not new for them. They already had this cafe culture, very calm and peaceful environment. And what happened is during the Second World War itself, when a lot of migrants came from European countries, they came and migrated and settled in Australia. And along with them, they brought the cafe culture also. So from then onwards, the cafe culture was already there in Australia. Fine. So good quality coffee, even for higher price, then the domestic cafe. So that was the thing. So we all know what is the pricing structure of Coffee Day. So very, very highly priced products in their menu list. Though they had a very good taste, but in Australia, the local vendors, that is a local cafes, provided even more good coffee for an affordable price when compared to Coffee Day. Starbucks. Okay, so that was one of the major point for Starbucks failure in that market. And of course, everybody had their own favorite cafes and local baristas wherein they were visiting them for ages together, and they didn't want to shift to a new brand, though if it is a very well-renowned global brand. So they had very, very tough time maintaining the premium quality because the number of stores, see, rapid increase to 87 stores. They penetrated highly into the market, rapid increase, but then these all were the pitfalls for them, so which they never bothered to address. Fine. So as I told you, quick expansion, forgot to establish the brand, and obviously understanding the taste and preference of, before they could understand, do the research on the taste and preference of Australian people. So they penetrated very largely into the market, and yeah, they failed in creating a brand loyalty and more number of stores. Problem here is the trained staff. So already the local baristas took staff and they were training them. But then in Starbucks, when they entered, they took very young and inexperienced staff. So that also contributed to the dissatisfaction of the customers of Starbucks. And of course, we need not to say about the taste and pricing. So did not adapt menu as per the Australian market. So it is a universal menu list for which they went into. But then when this global brands come across or go to global markets, what did McDonald's do? So when they came to Indian markets, they had to alter their menu list. So hamburgers are not preferred in India, in a country like India, right? So they had to alter the menu list, but then, so that was not given priority when Starbucks went and entered Australian markets, right? They assumed the same sugary flavors, but strong espresso based flavor was preferred by Australians. So every brand will have their uniqueness, will add on point or USP. So all sugary flavors were the focus for Starbucks, but then Australians preferred a strong espresso, which was not focused upon. So yes, though they had many options, the taste was too sweet. Ultimately, that was the mindset. A feedback from the Australian customers to sweet coffees, and costing too was very high compared to the neighborhood prices, and not to pay around $5 for a coffee which was not of their choice. So they were not minding to pay a higher price if they were satisfied with the product. But then for this brand, they were not ready to contribute more. And too many competitors, many independent coffee shops, existing cafe culture, local baristas, all these were posing a great threat for Starbucks. And 95% of cafes in Australia are independent, as per the IBIS World Report, not a big chain like Starbucks. And one more thing is they use freshly ground coffee bean to make coffee. That's the local advantage always, right? So you will have a unique taste and the freshness and aroma also will be there. Starbucks having a uniform or global sourcing policy. So though they see to that, they have their local suppliers as well, but then for a specific category of coffee bean, they had global suppliers. So this also added complications to their customers' taste. Fine. Then not much of advertisements in the mass media, instead relied on their reputation. They felt that they are a very, very renowned brand. Naming the brand itself, people would flock into their cafes. That never happened. And finally, the Great Recession. So in 2008, two-thirds of the stores were shut down. Of course, Starbucks were able to manage the recession, but the disposable income of the customer, they were not affordable. They were not willing to go and spend time in a cafe, costly cafe like Starbucks. So their affordability, their purchasing power took a backseat. So that also was not favoring Starbucks' presence in Australian market. So ultimately, it is the absence or lack of perfect market research which they failed to do in the Australian market. If they had done this, so all the pitfalls, whatever they had faced while entering the Australian market should have brought down to a greater extent, right? So forecasting is very important. Even this is an existing brand and coffee also is an existing product, but as a blend, when you are entering into a new market, so it becomes mandatory for you to go and do the forecasting appropriately. Otherwise, this is going to be the fate of your brand, right? So that is just to know the importance of forecasting technique and all that, right? So let's move on to understand more on the types of quantitative forecasting, that is the time series and the causal. Time series, yes, Sashi. Their qualitative research was not up to the mark, right? That is right. In fact, they didn't do proper research at all. So they should have gone with the market research. They should have circulated questionnaire, online feedback they should have taken. Already existing cafes, they should have understood what is their model. So how is that? How are they going to withstand the competition? They should have done a lot of groundwork and market research, so which they didn't do. Ultimately, that yes, posed the greatest problem for them. So this is just to understand the importance of the forecasting. Which method, as per the instance, we can decide later. So once you float with 5 or 10 outlets, then you will have some data in hand. How is that outlet doing in that area? So that will become, you can convert that into a quantitative research in due course also. Initially penetrating, going and flocking the market with so many number of outlets, ultimately closing down everything in a span of 5 to 6 years. Yes, that was too costly mistake for Starbucks, right? Fine. Let's move on to understand these models. So time series, based on the past patterns in the data. I have sold 10 cars last month. So Hyundai, if it has sold 10 cars last week, so 15 cars the previous week, or maybe in a month they are selling some 100 cars. So previous month I have sold 200 cars. Maybe in the last quarter my sales was 500. Fine. I want to predict what is going to be, or I want to forecast what is going to be my sales for next week or next month or next quarter. So based on this past data, I go to an average, I calculate an average, and I analyze, I understand the trend. How is it moving? So that is called as the time series model. So based on the past patterns and performances or sales or increase or decrease in demand, taking the past, analyzing the situation, and intending that the same is going to happen in future. Based on that, I am forecasting and going and enhancing my production, or planning my production, is called as time series analysis. Of course, this has its own pitfalls and all that, which we will discuss later. Once we discuss about the causal, that is the associative models, also you will know where this has to be used and why this cannot be used in that place and all that, right? So this is the simplest method, because you take the average of all the 4 months or 4 weeks or 4 days and all that, and you predict for the next 4 months or 4 weeks. So this is the same pattern which is going to happen. So based on that, you arrive at a figure. Associative model, on the other hand, is a causal model. So that means you have to understand that there is a cause and effect relationship, right? The same scenario, let us take car sales, right? Last 4 months, what is the car sale? And I want to predict what is going to be the sales of my cars in the next 4 months. But suddenly, pandemic has come, or suddenly Ukraine war has happened. So all these are having a great impact on either the employment or the spending capacity of the individuals or the entire global economy, which may bring down my car sales or demand for my cars to a greater extent. So now there is a cause and effect relationship between these two variables. So when I can identify such a cause and effect relationship between any two variables that I'm taking for consideration, then that is called as the causal model. So that is where I have to apply the causal method, the associative method. What are those methods? That also we will discuss now. So as simple as that, two scenarios: when there is a uniform pattern, uniform demand, you just want to understand what is going to be the increase or decrease in demand or sales in the future months or future days or weeks, you go with the time series model. When you find a cause and relationship, cause and effect relationship between the variables you are analyzing, or maybe the product, the demand for that, maybe the war that is happening, the impact of demand or impact of sales on that product. So then if you can find a relationship between these two variables, you will go for the causal analysis. Basically, that's it. And what in that we are going to see more here. So these are the basic descriptions of these. Simplest method to deploy is the time series. And yeah, forecast can be quite accurate only over the short term, because customer mindset, customer buying behavior is not going to be uniform for a longer period of time. So last month my demand was 100 units. Yes. With that, I can at the most predict for next month or next 2-3 months, not for next year or next 5 years. That is not going to give me the proper or accurate figures in hand. So always keep the forecasting term shorter, for a shorter duration. You will get concrete results for which you can come back and plan your production, right? Fine. So this can be tabulated or graphed and showed. So similar to the cricket scores, how they showed, right? So these time series always can be graphed and showed to you the trend of this in a histogram, in a bar diagram. It can be depicted and showed in any ways and means. Okay. Fine. Short-term analysis. Associative, on the other hand, it's causal. Linear regression, so which we'll see in a detailed way today. So that is the very, very important and the most simplest forms of this causal model. So regression model using two variables and relatively understanding the relationship between these two variables, we are going to use the linear regression. So that is what I told, a dependent variable and a independent variable. Two variables will be there. One will be dependent and the other one will be independent variable. So if it is going to be the pandemic, right? and the car sales. So which is going to be independent variable and which is going to be dependent variable here? Pandemic has happened, right? And based on that, I'm finding out the car sales. Car sales is dependent. Correct, Jyotishman. You are correct. So independent variable is right, pandemic. All of you are right. Ankit, you are right. Jyotishman, you are right. Your pandemic is independent, right? And your car sales is dependent on the pandemic outcome. So two variables, when such two variables, and you can find out the cause and effect relationship between these two variables, then that is the indication that you need to use any of the causal models, maybe regression or maybe any other model. We are going to see lead indicator model. So those things we'll see now. Okay, yeah. This is what we are going to see in today's entire session, one by one. So under time series, we have three. One is the simple moving average, as I told you, taking the past data, 1 month, 2 month, or even 1 year data, and based on that, you are assessing what is going to happen in future, forecasting based on that. That is the simple moving average. To get an overall idea of the trend in the data set, it is an average of any subset of numbers. So last 4 months data you take, all the 4 months data you take and divide it by 4, so you will get an average. 2 months data you take, divided by 2. So two period, 3 period, 4 period. It depends on how much hour period you take into consideration. So that divide by the number of period, you will get the average. So that is simple moving average. So, and then we have exponential smoothing and ARIMA. So under time series, we have three models. Causal, I will explain later. Once we finish this, then we'll come back to this and we'll explain this later. So first, let us see one by one, what is simple. Let's see what is time series. Again, I've told you enough. Prediction of events through a sequence of time. What is the sequence of time? That you will decide based on your industry. So if it is FMCG industry, keep the duration or the sequence of time comparatively lower. So since it's a fast moving consumer goods, keep the duration as small as short as 1 week. So every week there is going to be a change in demand or sales. So automotive industry, keep it as 1 quarter. So at least a month or quarter also is fine. In that quarter, what was your sales? In next previous quarter, what was your sales? So accordingly, the time period and duration, you will decide based on the industry you belong to. Retail, again, you can keep it for 1 month. The time series analysis or the moving average, what you are having, can be kept for 1 month. So similarly, any other industry, hospitality. So there you can go on for a month. So more the product is perishable, you have to have the shorter duration. Maybe agri products, maybe perishable products, groceries. Keep the duration as 1 week, as short as possible, because it keeps on changing. Fashion, keep it for a month, because more than that, 3 months, more than 3 months and all that, it becomes old. Zara, their design stays just for 2 weeks in a shelf. Beyond that, they go for a new change of design. So based on the industry you belong to, you have to decide on the duration of your time series analysis. Okay. So initially, first understand your goal. What is the volume of data available if it is the FMCG sector? FMCG sector, again, lot of product variants, right from the toiletries, right from the cookies, right from the chocolates, groceries, pulses, and everything comes under FMCG in a retail store. So what is the volume of data available for you? Abundant data? Yes. You need not to worry. You can easily go in for this simple moving average. How is that happening? So what is the time horizon? That's what I told. So for every industry, respective sector, you need to alter the time horizon. There is no one uniform solution for all the problems. So that has to be altered based on the industry you belong to and how frequently you are updating the forecast. FMCG, every week you need to understand, you need to update. So only based on that, you can replenish your inventory. So that's what you will be doing in your beer game also. Every week the customer is ordering to you. So 35 weeks you played the game, right? So for beer, so it is for every week that you are getting the customer order. So that is an indication that you also need to have your forecasting duration to 1 week. not more than that, right? So based on the industry you belong to, you're going to decide upon the time horizon. Okay, these are the different time series models: simple moving, simple exponential smoothing, and the ARIMA model. So these are the different industries based on which you will decide upon the duration. So for astronomy, what you will do? What will be the duration? For earthquake prediction, for weather forecasting, what will you do? For weather forecasting, it is going to be the shortest duration, because if next year same day or next month same day, what is going to happen, you cannot say. With the equipment in hand, what is the present status of the weather? With that, you can predict the weather for next 1 week max to max, not beyond that, right? For every industry, you will decide based on that. Okay, so let's see what is simple moving average. So as simple as I told you, calculate the average range of prices by the number of periods in that range. So how much of a period for FMCG, if you want to understand day basis also, daily basis also, you can take a note of it. You can understand what is the movement. Morning hours, there is not going to be much sale. Evening, yes, there is going to be more sale. Weekends, there is going to be more sales. So better on a daily basis or in a weekly basis, you will take the time duration for FMCG sector. Okay, so with a small workout, I will just show you how we are going to do the simple moving average, right? Your near past is the greatest estimator of the future. I can say this as an advantage as well as disadvantage, both for the simple moving average, because we go with the prediction based on the past. So last week, what was the sales? Having that as the base, I'm predicting that next week also the same sales is going to happen. May not be. So who thought on March 23rd there is going to be a complete lockdown? So none of these FMCG sectors in the March first week also might have thought that there is going to be a complete lockdown. They might have done this time series analysis, simple moving average based on February sale. They might have procured the same number of items for their retail outlet for March also. There are extreme conditions, so which cannot be avoided once natural calamities, such pandemics or such extreme situations. But otherwise, this has its disadvantage as well. It need not to be in the same way that the next week sales or next month sales also has to happen. But for some understanding, we need some basics, right, to go and plan our production. So for that, we take the near past as an indicator or estimator for the near future and go and calculate accordingly, right? I'm going to take you all to an Excel workout. Okay, so I'll be switching over to between slides and Excel sheets today. Okay, so please stop me wherever you have any doubt. Right. Okay, Jonas. Fine. So can you all see my screen? Excel. Right. Fine. This is the simple, the basic one. The time series analysis, all of us might have done in our childhood also. See, average. What we did in our extended maths average. So that is what we'll be doing in simple moving average, right? In simple moving average, as such, there are the periods can be up to your discretion. As I told you, based on the sector you belong to, you can decide on the period. It can be 2 period, 3 period, 4 period, 5 period. And the duration of that period also can be 1 week, 1 month, 1 quarter. It all depends on the sector you belong to. Usually in automotive sector, they go in for quarters. So quarterly sales, quarterly demand, they take for analysis. In FMCG sector, they go for weekly analysis. Every week, what is the change in demand pattern and all that. So likewise, sector to sector, this will differ. So let us take a small example here. So this is the period given in weeks, and the demand also is given in number. Okay. So from here, I have inferred here. Fine. So you are supposed to predict the demand for the product, maybe any retail product, and the demand for that product every week is given here. For 7 weeks, it has been given, and for the next 7 weeks, you are expected to predict that on the basis of 2-period average. 2-period average. So that means 2 uh, uh, previous weeks you are taking into consideration, and based on that, you are analyzing the demand for the forthcoming week. So 2-period average, take the average of previous 2 periods. So that's what? 08 and 09. So this is 08 and 09. So you will get a 2-period average. Then 07 plus, here it is 09 plus 010 is going to give you the forecasting for 9th week, and similarly for the other weeks also. Right? Sorry. Right? That's it here. Yes, this is for 4-period moving average. So similarly, here we did for 2-period, and here we are going to do for the 4-period. So maybe whatever is the 4th period, 1, 2, 3, 4, you are going to calculate here the average of that, and the next 4 periods, you are going to come out with the average here, 07 to 010. And similarly here, it is going to be 08 to 011. So as simple as that is your simple moving average. Based on the period, you are taking the average of previous number of periods and coming out with the forecasting for the next upcoming period. So that is your simple moving average. So why we started from period 8 in 4 period? Okay, so because here, till here, the demand is already given. Okay, what I have marked in yellow is already given. That is the given number. It should start from period 5, right? So, okay, here for 4 period, it is starting from here only. So, yeah. So these 4 periods I am taking for 5. So it is starting from 06 to 07. Okay, so for here, it is starting from 07 to 011. Okay, so that is the period, 4 period. So any previous 4 weeks or 4 days or 4 months is going to be your focus here. Here it is the 2 period. If it is a 3 period moving average, it is the 3 period here. It's very simple. That's why I'm not calculating and showing you here. Otherwise, this is what you have to do. Right. Okay. Actually, evening one day I noticed that this is my older version of Excel. In period 5 also, we can do average of period 1 to period 4. So, in period 5, so if period 1 is the start, you have to, for period 5, you put 0. Then for period 6 onwards, you do from 1 to 5, and then that you will put up in 6. So that is what I have done here. When there is, it's a 2-period moving average, but for first month, weeks calculation, we do not have the past data. So here, that is why for 3 periods, I have put as not available, data not available. Then since it is 4th period, you are going for the previous available data and then putting that here in the 4th period. So from whichever period you are taking, so maybe if you are taking a 4-period moving average, 4 weeks, and you need to complete that 1 month. And for the second month, first week, you will be taking all the 4 weeks data of the previous month as 4-period moving average. Okay, it all depends on how or what is the period you are taking for, as simple as that. Just do the average, and average also, the system, you put the average function, the system is going to calculate for that, that figure for you, right? So that is the 2-period and 4-period moving average. So same figure, I will do the exponential smoothing also, but let's understand what's the difference between simple moving average and exponential smoothing. Okay. Exponential smoothing also is one of the familiar popular method of time series analysis, but here what happens is in simple moving average, what we do is, if on second month, first week, I am doing a 4-period moving average. So first month's all the 4 weeks I'm taking into consideration, and I'm forecasting that second month, first week is going to be the increase in sales or increase or decrease in sales for me to go in for to take up the production, right? So 4. Here, the problem is when I do the simple moving average, I give the same weightage for all the previous months I am taking into consideration, or all the previous weeks I am taking into consideration. May not be the same. For every month, if I am doing or considering all the 4 weeks, maybe once you get the salary, always, usually this is the practice, right? Whether spending for entertainment, recreation, or even buying groceries, or even roaming out, everything will be done, or sales will be more for all these sellers or brands in the first week of every month. May not be the same when it comes to the last week of every month. This calculation, your simple moving average lacks to a greater extent. But when it comes to exponential smoothing, that is the greatest advantage we have, wherein we can allocate more weightage to the immediate past. So when I'm doing first month, second month, first week calculation, if I feel that the last week there is going to be increase in sales, so I will attach more weightage to the last week, or else the other way around also. If I feel first week there is always going to be more sale, then I attach more weightage for the first week's data compared to the last week data. So this is what we call a smoothing component, and we name it as alpha. We always attach an alpha component to the factors we weigh, that is the weightage, okay, to calculate what is going to be the forecast for the future, right? So this is the advantage what we have in our exponential smoothing. So any doubt? And this alpha usually will range between 0 and 1, the weightage, because 100%, right? So for that, so considering 100% as 1, you can attach maybe 0.6 as a weightage to the nearest past and 0.4 as weightage to the oldest past. So when you do that, you calculate, you multiply, and then put it in a simple moving average, then you will get a better result. So that will give you a clear picture, because here the seasonality component also comes, and you will get a clear picture which week exactly there is going to be more sales, and which week exactly there is going to be less sales, and accordingly I can plan for my production and inventory as well. So that is the advantage of my exponential smoothing. I will show you how this happens. Okay. Right. Fine. The same coming to here. So this is where till here we did the moving average. Coming to here, so this is the alpha components I have attached. Either attach 0.1 and 0.8, 0.2 and 0.8, 0.3 and 0.7. Totaling it up should be 1 for you. So based on that, you are apportioning the weightage between the months or weeks or the quarters, whatever it is. You will get a better detailed data. See, the demand is same. Using the different methods, see what are the different results we are getting. So even while using the exponential smoothing, when we allocate weights differently, you are getting a different demand figure, right? Okay. So this sheet after the class I will share with you. Fine. So in Excel itself, you have the formula of forecast ETS, that is exponential smoothing. You put that exponential smoothing and select the range. So here, for which week you want to understand or forecast, you put that and you give the range for the demand and also for the period. It is going to give you the exponential smoothing results here. See the difference here. The same demand, the 7 weeks demand, the same is taken as the base. But here in a 2 period simple moving average, this is what we are getting. In a 4 periods moving average, these are the demand results we are getting. And using the, what is that, exponential smoothing with different alpha factors, this is what we are getting. 0.1, this is for different weightage, 0.8, and again this is for 0.9. So these are the different with weightage. When we allocate to the periodicity, you will be getting a different output. So here is where the challenge comes for you. How am I going to assign the weights? So as I told you, it all depends again on the sector. If it is going to be automotive sector, usually for automotive sector, maybe towards the year end, the model is going to get exhausted. Otherwise, it will become a previous year model. So they used to push the sales. The seasonality pattern will be there. So when there is a four quarters, so you will see that the third or fourth quarter, the sales are going to go up. So maybe in the first quarter, usually auto sector takes follows the financial year, right? They don't go with the calendar year. So once you go with the financial year, the first and second quarter sales will obviously be less. Then the third and fourth quarter sales will obviously increase. So based on that, you need to attach weights. So maybe attach more weights for the third and fourth quarter and less weights for the first and second quarter if you want to understand the pattern. Similarly, for FMCG sector also in a month. So in the first or second week, you are going to have more sales. So attach more weights towards there. And third and fourth week, you are going to have lesser sales. So attach lesser weights to the last 2 weeks. Accordingly, you will get the results. And when you go with the all the 4 weeks, you can attach different weights for all the 4 weeks also. Attach 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. So likewise also you can attach and see to that you are getting 10 or 100% as the roundabout figure. Okay, see Shashi, what happens here is with 0.9, why I'm saying 0.9 is, that means imagine if it is an FMCG sector. If 0.9, if I'm allocating for the first week, that is going to be more sales usually in a departmental stores. So what they do is, if they want to understand the 4-week sales, they will attach 0.9 to the first week and 0.1, the left out is 0.1, right? In 100%. So 0.1 will be attached to the previous week's sales, so that they will understand there is a seasonal pattern. In first week, why they do this ultimately? Why do they forecast? They wanted to know how much stock should they hold. So this is a very clear indicator. When I know that there is going to be more sales in the first week, I'm attaching more weight to the first week so that accordingly I can stock more number of items to meet the excess sales in the first week. So that is why 0.9 I'm attaching. It can be 0.8 and 0.2 also. No, that's what I'm saying. So here we have 2 period only, not necessarily. That's what I told. You can, if 4 weeks you are taking, for all the 4 weeks, you can allocate data 0.4 to the first week, 0.3 to the second week, 0.2 to the third week, and 0.1 to the first last week. So anyway, any which way you total it up, it comes to 10. So that way you can. Otherwise, if you feel for the first 2 weeks, you are allocating 0.9 and the last 2 weeks, you are allocating 0.1. You can do that also. Okay, if you feel first 15 days, there is almost a uniform sales. Last 15 days, there is going to be a lesser sales. So you can do. It is all again comes to the sector which you belong to. So how the sales happening? Because it is completely ulta in the case of automotive sector. Here it is completely different. Usually when we go for exponential smoothing is we attach the high rigor to the immediate past. So this also you can do when the period is more. So if you are taking 1 year's data, right? 1 year's data if you want to take for a retail outlet or a FMCG sector also. Here in that case, what you will do is you will attach more weightage to the last 6 months. Then previous 6 months you will attach less weightage, because see there will be lot of change in brands, lot of change in preferences that is happening. So attaching more weightage to the immediate past will always have good sense and good results. So that's what you have to do when the period of your calculation is more than 6 months or closer to 1 year, right? But this various calculations are going to give you various results, but ultimately towards the end of the session, I will tell you how you have to calculate between these models itself and understand which model is going to suit you best and which one you are going to apply in your business scenarios. Okay, just for now, know all these calculations, how exactly these are being done and keep. Then finally, we'll crack all the doubts which may be occurring in your mind, because when I was a student, I always used to think, so if there are so many flaws, why should I go with this model? Or else ultimately, how will I know which is the best suited model for my business and all that? The answers are awaiting. We see that one by one. Okay. So that is as simple as that is your simple moving average and your exponential smoothing also. Yeah, I have a chat here. 1 second. I think I missed it. Done on actual demand. Example for period 8 with alpha 9 and 2 period calculation will be average 375. So which chart I'm missing? Okay. Calculation will be done on the actual demand. Example for a period 8 with alpha 0.9 and 2 period calculation will be average 375 into 0.9, 360 into 0.1. Correct. You are right. You got the point. Now you got it. So understand, analyze the demand. So with the respective figures, you need to attach the weightage and you have to come out with the demand. You should understand the demand. That is why we are getting varying figures between your simple moving average and your exponential smoothing. Right? Correct. You got it. Just know this and keep. Don't worry. I'm not going to bother you with all these calculations and all when it comes to your term and examination. What I'll be asking you is how you are going to apply, what method are you going to apply in the respective scenarios. So that is what I will be asking you all. Okay, right. So that was about your simple exponential smoothing. And the third one under the time series is the ARIMA model. ARIMA model also is a very, very popular model. We call it as auto-regressive integrated moving average. So that means here the ARIMA model uses lagged moving averages to smooth the time series data. So that means you all might have heard about in two indicators. One is the lag indicator and the leading indicator. Your leading indicator always is futuristic. That will tell you what future course of action you should take. So that means pandemic has occurred and a lot of deaths happening. So in such cases, what is going to be the required number of oxygen cylinders? What is the vaccinations required? So these are futuristic activities you should take, keeping the present situation in mind, and that is the lead indicator. On the contrary, your ARIMA model, that is your auto-regressive integrated moving average, will take the present and the past happening that has happened. That is a lagging indicator. Lagging indicator will be taken into consideration, and you will immediately understand, yes, what deaths, how many deaths have happened in the previous week. So if this is going to continue, how many deaths I can happen in the next week. So when you all go back and recollect during the pandemic situation, so this is what they were also telecasting and publishing in all the newspaper, right? If this is going to be the increase in rate of patients. So next week, what is going to be the increase? So number of patients, how much in next month, global wise. So that exactly is the ARIMA model using the lagged indicators. So I will tell you with a small example how Iran was doing, or they were forecasting the epidemic spread of SARS and COVID using this ARIMA model. So they took all the lagging indicators like the confirmed cases, new cases, total deaths, new deaths, and growth rate and confirmed cases, and what are the deaths that has happened. All these were taken into consideration. They were plotted into a graph so that they understood the trend or the movement of the number of patient confirmed cases, the total deaths and all that. See, basic is your time series model only. So either any your simple moving average or your exponential smoothing will be taken into consideration here. Any one of those things. Using the lagging indicator, they were predicting if this is going to continue in the same pace, what is going to happen in the near future. Ultimately, with the result, what is their planning is to make the beds available, make the oxygen cylinders available, make the ICU units available. So that is what they wanted to go back and plan with the results in hand. And this is called as ARIMA model, auto-regressive integrated moving average. So on the basics, it is a moving average method only, but here the variables what I am taking are the lagging indicators. The lagging indicators in this pandemic situation, what they took was the number of deaths, number of beds required, number of cases registered, and all that. So as per the sector you belong to, maybe if it is going to be auto sector. So if you want to use this auto regressive integrated moving average, so you can just put and apply and see that what was the sales and why there was a dip in sales. What was the reason if there is going to be semiconductor? Semiconductor I'm not able to get. So because I was relying more on the imports from China, and pandemic has come and uprooted the entire situation. Semiconductor crisis I have gotten. So if this is the situation, that is the lagging indicator here. That I will take into consideration and I will analyze if this is going to be the same scenario, then what will happen to the waiting period of my for my cars with my customers. So now it is 2 months. If this is going to persist, it may go up to 4 months, 6 months, 1 year also. So this is what using the lagging indicators, testing the method is called as the ARIMA model, right? But basically the calculation what we will do here is again the moving average, simple moving average only. But here the indicators what we take into consideration are the lagged ones comparatively. Okay, so usually any crisis situation, emergency, so such scenarios and all that, they will be using the lagging indicators to exactly understand the intensity of the scenario, forecast accordingly, and come out quickly out of that. So that is where they use this ARIMA model. Okay, got it? Okay, so far we saw we completed the time series analysis under which we saw simple moving average, exponential smoothing, and the ARIMA model. And in the previous session, in the first session, we also discussed that forecasting is never accurate. At the most, what we can do is to minimize the error. 100 units of sale is your forecasted figure. If you had sold 95 or 105, the error percentage is very, very less. Plus or minus 5 or 10% is still negligible. But if you had sold just 50, where your forecasting figure or your prediction says that 100 is going to be a sales, there is 50% difference in the forecasted figure. So that means your error percentage is more. Either you might have not put in the right model, or you might have not given the correct variables. So the reason may be anything, like the Starbucks case, failure of their brand in Australia without doing much of market research and all that. The reason could be anything, but that is what is forecasting error. Minimum, lesser the forecast error, your model is almost there, it is proven, you can go ahead and continue with the same model. More is going to be your forecast error. That is a matter of botheration for you. Okay, so how you're going to test your model accuracy, how you will do the error measurement is in three ways. One is the mean absolute deviation, we call it as MAD, mean absolute percentage error, MAPE, and mean squared error, that is nothing but MSE. Net model error, so this is the net model error, and this is mean absolute percentage. You calculate the percentage of that error, that is MAPE, and this is mean squared error. So I will show this also with the help of a workout. You will better understand. Fine. So the same figures, the year is given here, the demand, actual demand. So error we can find out using any method. So initially let us do or calculate error by using the moving average, and then we'll move on to simple, exponential smoothing. So this is actual demand, that is 80, and this is forecasted demand using moving average, whatever we have found out. Maybe it can be 2 period, 3 period, or 4 period, any period you can take. Using that, here I have taken 2 period moving average, right? So this is the forecasted demand we have gotten. So your mean forecast error is nothing but the difference between your actual demand and forecasted demand, right? So this is your forecast error. So that means your actual demand is this, your forecasted demand is this, and so difference between these two is going to be your mean forecast error, right? See, this error can be negative as well as positive. If I have predicted 100 units of sales, but then there is a demand for 105 units, so that also is an error. That also is a difference. So to avoid that, here we are squaring the difference, because it may be plus or minus. So when you square that, you will get the figure only in positive, right? So that's why we are squaring this. So this is the squared deviation. Whatever here I have got, we have squared that here. So you are getting the squared deviation. So calculate the percentage here. So nothing but your D5 divided by your B5. D5 is your mean forecast error divided by your actual demand that is existing, multiplied by 100, you are going to get the percentage. So this is the percentage error. Okay. Mean absolute percentage error you are getting. Right? Mean absolute MSE. Okay. That's what I told you, Jyotishman. See, mean squared error is, your sales is 100. You have forecasted 95, right? So now your sales is more than your forecast. 95 only you have forecasted and 100 is your sales. So in that way, positive plus or minus the result you will get. Unless and until you square it, you will still be having the negative figure. And the negative figure calculation of percentage will not give you clarity. So that is why we are squaring it to avoid, that is non-negativity factor. We call as the non-negativity factor when it comes to calculations. So that is why we are squaring here to understand the difference. Here, if you check, maybe every time your actual demand is more than the forecasted demand everywhere, right? So it is more. Sometimes there may be the inverse scenario also, like your actual demand can be lesser than the forecasted demand also. So in such cases, you are forced to go for squaring that to avoid non-negativity factor. That is why we are squaring here. Got it? Plus minus, when you minus plus, right? So when you get a minus figure, so when you square it, you will get a plus result. That is why you are squaring here. Then go on, right. So then find out the percentage. So this is the percentage error you are getting for every month. Okay, so that is one. And accumulated forecasted errors. Here what you are doing is again add up all the squared deviation, whatever you are getting, you will get, and calculate the percentage for the accumulated total. Whichever period you are taking, calculate the total percentage for that period. 20% you are getting in simple moving average. And mean absolute percentage error, again you are calculating the percentage number of period average again here. So 11 here is your 1500 divided by the number of period is 7. Do that, you are getting mean absolute percentage error. And on that, when you are calculating the percentage, do this like F11, this percentage divided by the period. You are getting 2.9. 2.9 on an average for a 7-year period, you are getting as the error. Right? Let's keep this one side. The same calculation when I do using exponential smoothing. So this is again the error. The actual demand is given. The exponential smoothing with the alpha characteristics weightage I am allocating 0.5 or 0.6 or 0.9, whatever weightage. Based on that, I am getting this figure. Do the same calculation, 80 minus FT, that is the actual demand minus the forecasted demand. You are getting this figure, right? This is your mean forecast error. Difference between your actual and the forecasted demand is your mean forecast error. Square that, you will get the squared deviation. After that, you calculate the percentage. So you are getting this percentage for exponential smoothing. See the difference in percentage. This is the accumulated forecast errors in total for the squared deviation. For that, when you calculate the percentage, and this is for every year, you are getting 19% as the error. See, on the whole, then you do error calculation for the simple moving average, your error is 2.9% per year. And the same when you're doing with the exponential smoothing, the error percentage is 19.29. So that means this will indicate you more the error, you need to shell down or leave that, drop that method down, and you have to shorten for the method which is showing less error. This may not be same scenario for every sector. Here it is just given, the year is given and the demand is given. What is the product exactly is not given. So this always depends on which type of product you are dealing with, which type of industry you belong to. Anyway, you can calculate using both these methods, moving average and exponential smoothing. They may be giving you different results, but how you have to choose the method is based on the error percentage it is giving for you. Lesser the error, that is the more suggested model I should go ahead for my industry. And the model with more error, I have to shell down that, drop down that method to give me better results. Because if this is the difference, error percentage, and this is the difference between the actual demand and the forecasted demand, everywhere I'm doing it wrong. So even in your beer game, so if you are continuously predicting wrong, you're forecasting wrong and placing wrong orders or different orders to your upstream supply chain, what will happen? Either you will pile up your inventory or you will end up in your backlog. So both are not good situations or conditions for your business. So that is the reason why you are calculating the error percentage and go with the method which is suggesting or giving you lesser errors, and that is going to give you handy results. Right? So that is the reason why we are calculating the error and finding out which model will be better suitable for my type of industry. Fine. So shall we go again to the slide? Okay, fine. That was on the forecast error. So we so far completed. I'm taking you back again to this basic slide. So we saw about simple moving average, exponential smoothing, wherein the alpha component will be attached and weightage will be assigned to the nearest past. And again, maybe the farthest past also depending on the industry, right? And ARIMA model, auto-regressive integrated moving average method, we saw using the lagged indicators. Next is the causal method. As I told you, we need to identify, understand a cause and relationship. So if you can identify, find out a cause and relationship between the variables which we are taking for analysis, then the model to be used is the causal model. Maybe you can use regression, econometric, leading indicator model, any of these three. So that also I will tell you where exactly you need to use which model. And in regression, as I told you, we study the relationship between the data points, dependent variable, independent variable. What is the relationship? And based on that, you use this regression method. Econometric model usually is used for the by the economy as a whole. So to understand what is your GDP growth, what is your GNP, what is your inflation, and what are going to be the fluctuations in the currency rate. So this is more used in the macro economic perspective by the global economy as a whole. So industry specific, we go for the other models like regression and leading indicator. And leading indicator, yes, this is economic statistics. So this will indicate a value, and having this sales forecast, what using another variable you will incur in the future and putting that into business use. So I will tell you when it comes to the example with example. Fine. So we'll go one by one. These are the causal methods. Right. So if you all want a break, just stop me. We can take a 5 minutes break and okay, fine. So a 5 minutes break and we'll be back and finish off this causal model. So I have a big Excel workout also, which I want to share with you. Fine, towards the end. Yes, a short break for 5 minutes. Shall we resume? Yeah, hope you all are also back. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Ganesh, Shashi. Right. So, after your time series analysis and methods, so we are moving on to the causal variable. So, in that, we are going to see about regression, econometric model, and leading indicator model. So, your causal methods has a greatest advantage of telling you what has happened and due to which what impact are you going to have in your sales or demand. In Evergreen Cruise, so that vessel got stuck in the Suez Canal, right? So that time, so invariably you come back and do the causal analysis. That is, since my shipment has got stuck, so how long is it going to take for it to arrive, to reach a destination? What are going to be the after effects? So when can I have my next sales deal that will be completed? That is, what is going to be the duration of my waiting time from my customer end. So you can go to the granular level and understand what impact this cause and effect is going to make on your sales or production or demand or anything. So that's what I have said here. So what should I ship today? So you can go up to the level of what should I ship today? How much should I ship today also, using this causal analysis and having the causal variables in hand. So usually weather, seasonality variables. So based on the weather, change in season, what is going to be the increase or decrease in the sales demand. So summer season, there is going to be more sales for ice creams, juices. So cause and effect relationship. So you can do regression analysis there. And yeah, to understand the GDP, what is the consumer price index? What is the gas price? If any war is happening, or if any, again, war is happening, any fuel restrictions are imposed, what are the subsidies levied? So based on that, what are going to be the changes, that is impact that is going to be experienced by my economy and ultimately my customers also. So macroeconomic variable. And store and market operations also you can. So this week I'm launching a new product, so maybe a perfume, fine. And maybe since it's being a new one, so there are no buyers, so then next week I'm planning to endorse the product with a very, very popular celebrity. So then this is cause and effect. So since I'm endorsing the product with a very popular celebrity of that period, so there may be an increase in sales. So cause and an effect relationship. So in such scenarios, you need to use these causal methods, right? That's what, that again, income, increase, decrease in income, what is going to be the buying or selling patterns, demand patterns, fluctuations. First week of the month, always more buying pattern. The reason is, causes the salary might have got credited. If effect is you are spending more. Towards the end of the month, you will exhaust all your salary, expenses will be less. So these are the cause and effect relationship one will identify. Sorry. And accordingly, you will impose that. So let us see one by one the three methods. Obviously, as I told you, these are all the benefits. So it helps you aggregate the data you have. With the data, you need to improve the accuracy of the forecast. So that is one major impact or point which differentiates time series analysis and causal method. What if I'm doing the same time series analysis, even if I understand that due to pandemic, many have lost their jobs, employments and all that. So if I'm a theme park owner, right? I'm having a theme park and I want to understand what is going to be the footfall in my theme park compared to last vacation period and last summer or last vacation period or last festive period. When there is a lockdown imposed or when many jobs have been lost or any other reasons have popped up, what is the point of me doing only the time series analysis when there is a major impact has happened due to all these causes? So that is where I need to apply the logic and understand, yes, this has happened and there is an effect due to that cause that has happened. And I need to go with, not with a time series analysis, but with a regression or any other method of causal analysis, right? So it is more than forecasting trends and seasonality. So more than about just demand patterns, sales and all that, you also need to understand what is the trend. Any new fashion, any new movie has released, your favorite actor in the screen coming with a new attire, new pattern of dress and all that, right? So obviously people will be attracted towards that and more sales of that brand or that design of dress will be in high demand, right? So that is where the trend factor comes. Seasonality factors always is directly related to the changing patterns. So season, summer season, winter season, that is also seasonality. And first week, last week, that is also a seasonal movement because first week you have more disposable income, last week you will not have. There too you have a seasonality. So auto companies going in and rushing, promoting more sales during the year-end, seasonality pattern. Festive seasons pushing more sales, seasonality pattern. E-commerce companies announcing Independence Day sales, Big Billion Day, Great Indian Sale, seasonality pattern during festive seasons, going in and announcing sales. So all these are the causal method, and you will have, what if Amazon or Flipkart are doing time series analysis for the entire year? The results will be completely differentiating unless and until you go in for a causal method where they clearly understand there is going to be more demand during the festive season. So more stock is required, more inventory is required. So thereby they are forced to go in for this causal method. Right? That is where you need to go and apply this causal method. In causal method, a very important type of analysis which usually we do is the regression analysis. So it is nothing but whenever we say regression, so that means there are two variables associated. One is the dependent variable and the independent variable. So we need to understand which is dependent and which is independent and accordingly apply this methodology. So dependent variables are the main factor that you are trying to understand. My sales is dependent on the advertisement expenses, or my sales is dependent on the income levels of my customers. So this is a dependent variable. So what accordingly I need to do? I need to analyze to influence the factor of my independent variable. That is very important here. And independent variables are the factors that you will hypothesize and that will have an impact on your dependent variable. So your independent variable here, so global economy or a war that has happened. So your buying behavior has completely changed, right? So the independent variable will have an impact on your sales, that is a dependent variable. So both has to be very, very carefully analyzed, taken into consideration and put into this regression analysis. So now let's see how sales of automobiles are related to advertising expenditure incurred on that product. Tell me which is an independent variable and which is a dependent variable here. Sales of automobiles is one and advertisement expenditure is one. There are two variables in this. So which is a dependent variable and which is an independent variable? Sales is dependent, correct. Correct. All of you are right. Independent is your advertisement expenses, correct. More you invest in your advertisement, your sales is going to increase. So your sales is dependent on your advertisement. Correct, 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 Sashi. All of you are right. Okay, in this scenario, tell me how defense expenditures vary in relation to the GDP of a nation. Defense expenditure and GDP, which is dependent and which is independent? how defense expenditures vary in relation to the gross domestic product of a nation. Okay, defense expenditure is GDP is dependent, defense is dependent. Okay, you have GDP is independent, you have a varying independent is GDP. Okay, okay, correct. Shashi, you are right. Independent is GDP, based on which if your GDP is good, you are going to allocate more defense expenditure, right? So debatable topic again, you can reverse also. That's what I'm coming to say, Jyotishman. Reverse is also possible. So this is where in such scenarios, you will come to a juncture, confused state where which is dependent and both will be interdependent on each other, right? Reverse also is possible. Both will be here. Let us presume that. So the GDP, your defense expenditure is dependent on the GDP. So better GDP will have more expenses, defense expenses allocated. So you, other side of the debate is you strengthen your defense expenditure there also. But here there is more possibilities. Your GDP is strong, your defense expenditure can be very highly allocated also. So likewise, you need to bifurcate between the independent and dependent variable and use it accordingly in your regression analysis. Okay, so we have a small workout for this regression analysis also. I will show you. Not much, but towards the end, I am going to show you a better workout. So this is a small workout only again. Okay, so here the number of years given and snowfall. So here, since there is a global warming happening across the years and snowfall, there is a diminishing rate of snowfall every year. So we can identify a cause and effect relationship. So that's why we are going in for regression analysis here instead of a time series analysis. And this is the result. Again, formulas are there in your Excel itself. You put forecast linear and select the year for which you wanted to forecast and then select the range P3 to P7. So the previous years, whichever you have to calculate, and the number of years, the total number of years you want to calculate. Put everything, you will get this figure. So there you will get the regression analysis result for how much ever number of years you wanted to make, you can keep doing using this regression analysis. Only thing is the formulas are already there. I'm not, no, actually the Excel function in this formula is, that's what I came to tell you in the beginning also. I just last week changed my laptop, but then only today noticed that this is an older version of Excel. That is why it is reading the formulas like that. But in your version of Excel, this will not come. This Excel function will not be there. Okay, Shashi. So why we used regression here and not time series there is, so since there are a lot of other factors also associated with the global warming, so as we proceed with the years, the snowfall is deteriorating, diminishing. So since global warming is happening, snowfall is coming down. There is a cause and effect relationship here. So that is why we are using, what is that? Causal analysis, that is regression instead of time series. If you want, you can just play around. You can use time series analysis also here and check with the results. So ultimately, I'm going to tell you. So this is where deliberately I have kept here, and you thanks for you to raise this question. So why regression, why not time series? Or why time series, why not regression? So often this is the question that pops up to our mind, and we get confused where to use what. So that is what I'm going to tell you in the next workout, which will clearly tell you. So here also you can do time series analysis also, and you can do regression analysis also. Ultimately, with the results, you are going to testify which method is the best suited, and based on that also you can go with the analysis. That I will tell you shortly. I have a very big workout, so wherein I have combined everything, and finally I will tell you how you need to choose that model. So let's first just understand what is regression and how this is happening. Okay. So this is the formula and this is why. So mine is old version. So that is why it is showing this. So by next week, I will update my Excel. Yeah. We have data analysis tool in Excel to get the regression analysis. Correct. I will show you how to get the data analysis tool also, everything in this workout. Okay. Everything we'll see in this workout. Okay. Right. Let's go back to the slide. Okay. That was about the regression analysis, the cause and effect relationship. We'll understand with a bigger workout shortly after finishing all these models. The next one is the econometrics model. So as I told you, this is similar to a vicious cycle of poverty. So more in economics, you might have heard about this, seen about this and all that. For a global economy, for the country's economy, for a macroeconomic perspective, they used to use this model. So not so much to play around data and all that. So what they do is, this is a usual practice, right? So you have business firms or in the one side, and on the other hand we have the households who will be the users of this products produced by this business firm, and in turn they provide the labor services to these business firms, right? So from households provide labor services to business firms, and in turn they give output as cars, clothing, any other retail products, and which in the form of purchases will come back to the households, right? So again, payment will happen from the household for the purchases what they are making, and business firms pay them in turn in wages and salaries. So any single impact in any of these is going to affect the entire flow. So any hike in tax rate, yes, of course, the spending capacity will come down. Any pandemic such situations, yes, the spending capacity. Any layoff, the business firms, if they go in for any layoff, since there is no demand, so they lay off. Wages are paid less to the household, and since wages are paid less, they are not able to spend more. So this is like a vicious circle of poverty. This happens and happens. Here, the purpose of this econometrics model is to exactly find out where is the problem, whether it is with the labor services, more labor available, so cheap labor. So in our country, that is the, maybe I can put it as an advantage as well as disadvantage as well. So advantage, cheaper labor, so a lot of foreign direct investments and all that. So they are trying to encash the potential on that aspect. So by labeling, we have cheaper labor services, more attracting more foreign direct investments on that. So here, ultimately in this model, I'm just finding out where exactly is the problem situation created, and based on that, I'm designing this model. So labor services, shortage of skilled labor, data scientist, shortage of data scientist. If that is my problem area, I focus on that. I forecast in next 5 years what is going to be the requirement of data scientist, and accordingly I will submit a report or promote that requirement. That is the outcome of this econometrics model. So usually this economists use this model majorly eyeing upon the development of the economy on the whole. Okay. So instead of confining this model to any specific industry, in industry what they do is exactly this, how to skill labor in that specific industry. They will use this econometrics model, right? Identifying a gap where exactly is the problem area and trying to fulfill that, address that issue and a problem. That was on the econometrics model. Then finally, it is the lead indicator model. In ARIMA model, if you remember, we were talking about the lagging indicator. So number of deaths. So due to the number of deaths that has happened for the next week, how many beds should I have in excess? Fine, that is on the lagging indicator. But this lead indicator model focuses on what could be a potential leading indicator in future, so that accordingly I will equip and make arrangements for excess capacity or excess production. So these leading indicators, they will give you an opportunity to influence the future since they are forward thinking insights. So for example, participation numbers for webinar, conferences, etc. So you are conducting a webinar or a product launch or a conference on any new launch of your product or technology. So maybe AI, virtual reality, artificial intelligence. You are conducting a webinar or a conference. Number of footfalls in that webinar. So that is going to be a leading indicator for you that so many prospects are there to buy that model of yours, and accordingly you can go back and plan your production. Right? So that is a leading indicator which is more futuristic. So, so result is number of products purchased by each customer, and result is going to be your improved customer renewal. So again, number of calls into a customer service and how many guide downloads you are downloading. So you are calling a matrimony service, the customer service, and asking them all the what is the conditions, terms and conditions to enroll into that website. And they are indicating, yes, there is a free membership for 1 week, after which you might have to pay and all that. So that is a potential customer. So you have a clear-cut data in hand that this is going to be a leading indicator. So next week or next month, there is going to be a prospective enrollment for this. So accordingly, you need to increase the bandwidth of your server, or because so many members are going to log in, so increase the visibility. So accordingly, you will be planning all your internal operations. So that is the enhanced customer satisfaction. So similarly, anything eyeing upon future, so based on that, whether it is a footfall or the customer response or customer attending a seminar or number of customers even visiting the website. See, all these e-commerce platforms, if you all have noticed, more the time you spend in their website. So maybe you're scrolling your Facebook, more the time you spend in their website. That is an indicator for them that you are a future prospective customer for them, right? So based on that, so next they will set push notification. If you are stuck up in a specific page of a women apparel or footwear and all that. So next time when you attend a call, drop a call. So that is going to be a pop-up and a push notification for you. So leading indicator, creating more visibility so that they are getting a confirmation that you are a prospective customer for them. Why they are doing this? Going back and have to make arrangement or production requirements, fulfill all the production requirements. Ultimately, any forecasting technique or methodology is made keeping the production planning and the inventory levels in mind. Okay, so that is why this becomes a basic step for any supply chain activity which you need to take in future, right? So that is about the lead indicator, not specific calculation here also. If under causal, so here since there is a footfall, you can more number of user downloads, that is the cost. So the effect is going to be the number of customers getting enrolled in your matrimony services, cost and effect relationship using the lead indicator model. The methodology or analysis what you can do here again can be with reference to the regression model only. So there is not separate calculation here, otherwise they take regression analysis as the base for this any of these causal method. Okay, so after this we'll go on to the workout immediately. Now you tell me what should the company do in this respective scenarios. So company A, they are forecasting its sales through the end of the year. Okay, forecasting sales through the end of the year. So let's suppose a small greeting card company wants to forecast its sales through the end of the year. The company has just a year and a half of experience and limited data to use for predictions. Though the first few quarters were slow to start, they have gained a great reputation in the last 3 quarters. So for this reason, sales are on the rise. So which method of forecasting should they do in such a scenario? A greeting card company, 1.5 years into business, and last few months, yes, there was a good sale, but previously there was not a good sale, right? So in such scenario, which forecasting technique should they use for the upcoming months? Can you guess? So time series, correct, Jyotishma. Time series because they have a data. So can you be more specific under time series? Which one should they use? Whether it is the simple moving average or exponential smoothing? Yeah, Sunny, you are perfect. Very good. So under time series, it is exponential smoothing. Why? Why? Because there is a seasonality pattern. So last few months, more factor to the reason, correct. So recently the sales have picked up. So you need to attach more weightage to the recent past than the previous past. Very correct, Jyotishman. Weightage to give to account for seasonality pattern. Very correct. So good that you all understood. So this is what time series analysis. In that, again in that, you can go in for your exponential smoothing where you have the trend and seasonality which is attached. But on the whole, time series is correct. Very correct. So let's see the second scenario. Company B forecasting sales for the next quarter here. So let's suppose a well-established shoe brand is forecasting profits for the next quarter, maybe Nike or Adidas, anything. Normally, this company would use the time series forecasting technique to estimate profits for the next quarter. That is normally. However, economic conditions have shifted and the unemployment rate is higher than normal. So in such scenario, which forecasting technique should they use? Normally, they were using time series analysis. Very correct. So causal method. So there is a cause and effect relationship. There is unemployment at the higher side. So correct. So it is the regression. Very correct. Nazneen, Shashi, all are correct. So it is the causal and that regression needs to be used. The company might, because they have two variables, employment rate and the spending rates. So yes, the cause and effect relationship is very, very clear and evident, in which they can go in for regression analysis to make the analysis. Then finally, forecasting returns on the new product. So let's suppose a loungewear company plans on rolling out a new product, that is slippers. Loungewear company rolling out slippers also. So since this product is new to the company, there are no official metrics for price and popularity. So for this reason, the company needs to gauge the interest level of its target audience. So which forecasting technique should they use in such a scenario? For their new product, that is slippers. Loungewear company rolling new product, slippers. No official metrics for pricing and popularity, since that is a new product, though existing brand, that product is new. Very correct, Nilesh, Ankit, all of you, very correct. So deliberately I kept one qualitative method here, though we saw in the previous session. You all are very correct. It is the market survey, market research or survey they need to do, because that is a new product. Brand is existing, but it's a loungewear company, but you are going in for introducing your slippers. So in such cases, when you do not have past data, historic data on sales, you need to go for the market research, right? So now you all have understood which has to be used, which technique has to be used. So with that, I will take you to, when we do analysis, when we do quantitative technique, which one exactly has to do? Because sometimes we may find causal, but still some time series analysis also can be used. Sometimes we ourselves will be skeptical whether there is any causal relationship there, or should I use regression still, or can I go with a simple exponential smoothing alone? So such doubts will come out. So to avoid that, I'm going to show you a workout which will clarify all your doubts. Right? Fine. So I have worked it out and kept. So because this may be more time consuming, so that's why I have already done it and kept. Fine. do it and show you, but still, if any time is not sufficient, then we go with the worked out results. Right. This is the given data. Fine. Exactly, this is the given data. So this is for quarterly data for, hope you all can see my screen. Are you able to view my Excel sheet? Right. Okay. Okay. Fine. Thank you. So this is the given data. Quarterly sales, quarterly data for car sales. And for 4 years, the data is available. This is what we have to forecast and find out. Okay. For 4 years data, 4 years data is given, and every quarterly sales in thousands. Sales in thousands is given here, right? So that means 4,800, 4,100, 6,000 and all that for every quarter. So this is the given figure. So now with this, we need to forecast and understand for the 5th year, that is for the next 4 quarters, what is going to be the sales. And here, since it is an automotive sector, I'm confused whether to go with the time series analysis or with the regression analysis. For that, I need to study the pattern of the data very clearly. So first, for you all to understand easily, I have written the steps also here. After the end of the session, I will share this Excel worksheet with you all so that you can better go through it. First, we need to understand first whether it has any seasonality or any trend pattern also in its sales. So first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, then what is that? So to understand that better, we need to insert a graph. So let us insert a graph and see. Okay, since I want to understand the trend, I will go with the trend graph. Fine. Okay. Data range is going to be this. Okay. Fine. This is the data range which I'm going to choose. Okay, fine. This is the data range, and here you can see that there is a pattern of the sales that is happening. So here I'll do one thing. When I put this, it will be more clear for you in the x-axis. Okay, so here the number of years, and for every quarter you can see that there is a pattern, that is an oscillation that is happening. Like first 2 quarters, it's moderate, and third and fourth quarter, it is increasing. Again, it is dropping on the first and second quarter, and the third and fourth quarter, it is increasing. So there is some connectivity, some pattern in the movement of sales that is happening. So with this, I'm getting a confusion. Should I go with regression analysis, or should I still restrict with my time series analysis alone? Fine. I will also understand. Okay. So let us see, let us make one by one analysis and understand how the results are going to indicate me or tell me which one should I go. So since it is a quarter, I will go with the 4-period moving average. So first period, second period, yes, there is no previous data. So these 4 quarters I am taking into consideration. So that means average. Okay, fine. This is a 4-period analysis. For these 4 periods I am taking, since it is quarterly. Drag it. So for every year, every quarter and every year, I'm getting a figure here. But then, one second, excuse me, one second. Sorry, someone at the door. Right. So here, for the last quarter, so it is saying C20 for where I don't have the data. So I don't want this. Then it will become a 3-period moving average. The result might be distorting. So I'm removing that. So now rest all, I'm having a 4-period moving average only. To have easy calculation, better understanding what I'm doing is that too, usually when you take a 2-period or 4-period moving average, the median of that is going to be between 2 and 3. So that is always a difficulty. To remove that, I'm further, or for ease of calculation, what I'm doing is I'm calculating the baseline, that is the central moving average, which is again a 2-period moving average here. So directly also you can come to the 2-period moving average. For ease of understanding purpose, I have done the 4-period, and then further to which I'm going for 2-period moving average, right? So here, do that, 2-period moving average equal to. So now take these 2 periods. Okay, for all the periods you will have, so drag it. Right here, what is that? D18 and D19, both the places I have data. Okay, I'm stopping with this. D19, there is no figure, so I'm removing that. I'm stopping with that. So I'm getting a 2-period. I have come to a central moving average. So this is the time series analysis forecasting result based on 4-period or 2-period, whichever you want to have as a baseline, you can take. So for ease of understanding purpose, I have taken this 2-period moving average, right? So this is what my time series analysis says, that this is how my forecasting is moving. This is the actual one. And if I do the time series analysis for the actual data given, so this is the forecasted result it is showing. So let me put this and apply in the graph and see. Okay, here I'm adding this, sorry. Series name, let us have us, yeah. Series value here is this. Okay. series name is the central moving average. And the value here is this. Okay. Include that also in the graph. What did I do? Somewhere I'm doing mistake. Okay. This is why I already cracked and kept somewhere it may go wrong. Okay. So if you add this data here, fine. So data I'm getting. So somewhere while adding in the graph, some mistake is occurring. So you will get this as the trend. This yellow line, orange line, which you are seeing here is the trend. So that means your, okay, this is the forecasted figure and this is the time series analysis figure you are getting. This orange line, that is the trend. Then you can see the difference how it is happening. Because the trend is this much, your time series analysis trend says this is the movement of or change in sales, but then your forecasted sales is saying that there is an oscillation based on the previous data. So that means there is a lot of difference between the time series analysis result and the actual sales that is happening. So let us keep this. So we should also go in for regression to better understand how this is happening, right? So this is what we have kept. We have understood and kept. So where I will check here what mistake I have done. Okay, sales, yeah, okay, fine. Let me try once again. This also. Sales name, sales value. One. Now again I'm adding. I need to select these dummy cells also because for the sales I have selected from the first quarter. So if I'm not going to select those cells, then it will show a different figure for me. No, somewhere some mistake is happening. That's why the figures are just drag it after selecting the graph. See, actually the problem is with my system. So just this week I changed my system. So a lot of features are also not here. That's why creating a problem in showing this to you, right? I'm removing that. So I'm going with this only. Better good that I cracked and kept it ready, right? So some small mistake only I'm doing. I know that, but then I'm just keeping a watch on the time also. Fine. So now just understand the logic that this is the forecasted figure and this is the trend. And there is a, you can see there is a difference between the seasonality pattern and the just figure and the figures what we have just got out of the out of doing this time series analysis. That is the simple moving average. So here is where we need to, or this is the indication for us that simple moving average alone is not going to solve the purpose. I need to check doing the regression analysis also. But before doing regression analysis, I need to do many things. So first is the seasonality and the irregularity pattern. in the data, whatever I have gathered, firstly, I need to arrive or take out or identify the seasonality pattern and the irregularity pattern. So how that will be done is by the sales, the actual sales. So usually doing what we call the time series analysis on the whole, what we do as YT, divide that by the baseline, that is the 2-period moving average we did, right? So divide that time series by the 2-period moving average, whatever we did. So you will get a seasonality and irregularity pattern. So this seasonality or the irregularity is an indication of how much plus or minus your data is from the normal time series analysis. So here it is plus 10%. The data is distorting plus 10%, so 1.10. Here in the next quarter, it is plus 13%. So deviation from the time series analysis results, the deviation is 10% here, 13% here, and next quarter, the deviation is minus 3%. And next quarter, the deviation is minus 16%. So here, by dividing your sales and the time series data, you are getting the, so there we did the forecast error, right? So similar to that, so this is what the seasonality and irregularity factor we are extracting. And this is the difference it is showing. So we have got that. So now I wanted to find out, understand the seasonality pattern alone on that. So to do that seasonality or to understand that, because every quarter there is a pattern. Actually, this alone is an indicator for me to go in for causal method. And there is a uniform oscillation. Every first 2 quarters it drops, and second, third and fourth quarter it goes up. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the seasonality pattern alone. So to do that seasonality pattern quarter wise I need to do. So let us do that separately for every quarter. Extract that and enter separately. I will do that and show here. Okay. So for every quarter, I'm going to do here. So let us see average. I have to do the average function. 2 formulas are there. Either I can go with the average or average if. I will show you both. First, let us go with average function. Okay. This is the first quarter. So for first quarter, every year I need to take. Okay. So first quarter, this is the seasonality pattern I have identified. Here, your seasonality and irregularity, the first 2 quarters, we do not have the data. So for the first year, for the second year, I have the data. So take that, comma. Then for the third year also, for the first quarter, I have the data. And for the fourth year also, for first quarter, I have the data, right? So do that. You will get one season. You can extract the seasonality pattern alone in that, right? Similarly, do for the second quarter also. So average. So here it is for the second quarter. Also in the first year we don't have. So go in for the second year, comma, third year second quarter, comma, and fourth year second quarter, close the brackets. So likewise for every quarter you need to do this. Okay. Yes, that is what I'm going to do, Sunny. So instead of doing, see here it is very less number of data, we are doing this average function. So more number of, if even the quarters are split into weeks and all that. So there is a simpler form to do that, that is average if function. Go for average if function. So you have this. So this data you take, that is the number of quarters. C6 to C17, you take all the quarters here till where you wanted to identify, right? So then for which range you want to take it. So this is for the first quarter, you need to arrive at a figure. So put that as the range, and G6 to G17 is your STIT. So from where we are separating the seasonality factor. So take that also. From G6 is the data what we have, G6 to G17. So that you take and close the brackets. You will get the, you are extracting the seasonality factor alone from the quarter wise. So put average function, so that once you put and drag it, so that is going to get applicable for all the quarters. You are, now you have extracted the seasonality factor, and since there is an oscillation, a pattern of movement, it is the same, and we are also taking into consideration every quarter, every same quarter of different years. So once you get the seasonality factor, you take and paste it here for every year. So that is the same, it is getting repeated, if you can notice here, right? So what we have arrived there, it is being pasted here. So once that is done, then next we are going to deseasonalize. So only if you deseasonalize, so this is where step by step I have written. So you need to get rid of, initially in this step when we are calculating seasonality, we got rid of irregularity. Now I'm going to get rid of seasonality factor also to understand the exact trend of my sales. So how should I do that is nothing but your data, that is your sales data divided by your seasonality will give you, or will deseasonalize your data. That is, I'm getting out of the seasonality factor also. So once you do that, yes, you will get for all the quarters. Now, for all the quarters, all the years, I have deseasonalized the data. Then finally, coming to the last step, once I have deseasonalized the data, so I need to put the regression analysis. That is, with the help of my data analysis tool, I'm going to put this regression analysis. So hope you all have add-in data analysis add-in here. Otherwise, if you don't have, you can go in to the settings, click more commands and click add-ins here. Yeah, you have it. Fine, Jyotishman. Fine. So click add-in here. So you have a lot of Excel add-ins. Excel add-ins you could go here. Already I have kept here. So it is taking analysis toolbar. Select that and click OK. This will automatically come to your data page. Okay, solver also I have added in, and data analysis also. So once you have the data analysis, you click that. Already I have done that also. Okay, click data analysis. In that you will have multiple options. So we are going to choose regression on that. Click OK. So it will ask you different ranges. So your input range, Y is going to be your deseasonalized. Okay, I will do this at least and show. Okay, right over here, go to data, data analysis, choose regression. Okay, it will ask you your Y range and X range. Your Y range is going to be your deseasonalized factor, right? Your X range, that is input range, is going to be your period, for which period you want to make that. So since I have chosen along with the labels, I am taking label also, and where I want my output range is somewhere over here. I have kept it there, in which cell, otherwise it will take us to a different sheet. Here my input range is going to be this. Okay, output range. Output range. Here I want the output. I don't want a new worksheet. Okay. Fine. So this is my, once I click the data analysis, this is giving me the summary output. So what I need to do in here is, so since I did it from the beginning. So this is the values have changed here, right? No issues. So here is where we need to take, just focus on the T, that is the trend component, and the intercept what we have given, the deseasonalized data. So those two are the ones. So other statistical tools or the all other figures we are not going to use for any other statistical tools. So just focus on this intercept alone, 5.09, and T, your trend is going to be 0.01 as the factor. So what? Bring that here. So this is what I have to, okay, I will do that and show. Okay, your intercept function plus times your T, that is the trend, times the year, that is the period, right? Okay, you are getting the trend for first year, first quarter. Drag it, you will get the same trend for all the years, all the quarters, right? Then finally, so this is the trend we have got. So now having this in hand, I'm going to forecast for the future. My forecasting, so everything now I have got in hand. My seasonality, I have extracted from irregularity, and the trend also I have gotten here. Multiply these two, okay? Multiply your seasonality with your trend. You are getting your forecasted figure here. So once I get the final forecast, apply that in the graph. So this is, these values are empty. That is why it is dropping down. Once we feed the data for the fifth year also, it will show you the correct graph. So if you apply this forecasted figure in the graph, you can see the final, this is the yellow line. In between is the orange line. You can see the yellow line, that is, it is almost similar to the sales that has happened in the past. So still we have not gone to the fifth year. Forecast has not happened. We are just checking with the forecasting techniques and also with the historic data in hand by applying these two techniques or methods. Like one is the simple moving average and the other one is the regression. And we understood that with simple moving average, it is just showing the trend or pattern of movement, but not the exact forecasted sales, but not the exact sales. Okay, so but with the regression analysis, the results what we have got is almost similar to the sales that has happened exactly. So this pattern itself is an indication that our regression analysis is expected to give more closer results compared to the simple moving average. So now that in the graph itself we have found out, so it's just to need not to worry about the simple moving average and all that. We are just going to focus only on the regression analysis. Extend the year, fifth year, 4 quarters, and this deseasonalized seasonality component already we have extracted and kept. So that is going to be the same for the next 4 quarters in the fifth year also, right? Okay. So here the trend component we have identified, drag that also. For the next year, next 4 quarters, it is giving you the trend. And here finally the forecast, which is what for which we are doing all this calculation, and this is the forecasted figure it is showing for the next quarter. And if you can see, it is the same pattern it is showing. So that means your regression is tend to give more better results, concrete results, closer to the ones that has happened in the past also. And you can trust regression analysis more than the time series analysis. So for that only we did all these exercises. So your forecasting has just happened in the last few steps for the next year, next 4 quarters. But then we were testing the model, which one to apply. In that application, we understood that our regression analysis are better, are giving close results to the factors or to the exact sales that has happened in the past, and that gives us a idea or clarity to go and proceed with the regression analysis alone and not any other time series analysis. So here you can see the trend exactly on the pattern, same pattern of movement, it is proceeding for the next year also. See, that is how when the data is it is in hand, whenever you go in for the quantitative analysis, yes, you are left with the time series analysis or the causal associative models. So, but where we get confused is where exactly to use these models. So since you have the past data, historic data, that is an advantage for you, wherein with the existing data, you can test both the models, time series as well as regression analysis. And with the results for the existing data, you can understand which has to be used for the future as well. So that is what we did in this exercise using the regression analysis. In between, actually, I wanted to do this and show to you, but somewhere my graph went wrong. So I had to resort to the sheet where I already had solved this problem and kept. So is it clear now by using data? This actually again is testing the model. So which one to use where appropriately. Otherwise, doing the time series analysis in the name of quantitative analysis and finally ending up with no results. So this is better to test the model and then go ahead with any specific or particular type of testing, quantitative testing analysis for a better result, right? For that only we did this exercise. So I will just share this sheet with all of you. When I have given the steps also, how we have to do and how we can arrive at this final forecasting numbers. Okay, clear? Any doubt? Okay, fine. So almost done with all the workouts, just left with one or two slides only. So now that workout was mainly to understand which model, see, through these scenarios also we understood that which model has to be tested. But at some instances, some places, we too will be confused on which quantitative technique exactly has to be applied or not. So that is where we have to go all or resort to such models, understand which model is giving better results closer to the existing data. And that is how you have to choose on the or zero in on the models, right? Okay, again, another focus or emphasis on which model or which forecasting method to use. Your qualitative techniques, they are used when the data is scarce, when it is a new product or new launch or any new innovation, new technology. When there is no past historic data, you will go for using the qualitative technique. And when the time series analysis will be used is you have an existing data, several years of data, 50 years, 100 years, 10 years, 5 months, 10 months. You have some data available in your hand. And when there is a trend pattern found in the sales and outcomes, so you can go in for the time series analysis. When you have to go for a causal method is whenever you feel or you find a cause and effect relationship between the variables associated. Like one will be independent variable, one will be dependent variable. So whenever you can identify a cause and effect relationship, you need to go in for the regression analysis and a causal method. So here too in the car sales in the previous example, why we went in for regression analysis also is there is a pattern of data that was found. Every third and fourth quarter, it is going high. So that means there is some cause and effect relationship. Either a new model is rolled out or else there is for tax saving purposes, customers are going and buying more cars. Some reason, some trend is associated. And that is where there is an oscillation, uniform oscillation of sales and sales pattern of the car. So that is why we tested both the models and understood regression is proving better results than the time series analysis, right? In your study material also, there is a case on HBR case on forecasting technique based on the PLC, like based on the product life cycle also, this forecasting techniques can be utilized. So usually stages of life cycle, you all know the product development, that is introduction, growth, maturity and decline. So these 4 stages are there. Based on that also the forecasting techniques can be chosen. So usually when there is a product development, it is going to be completely new. Product development means what? First stage, new. Obviously, you will go for all the qualitative analysis, maybe a Delphi technique or maybe a panel consensus or even maybe a market research. So new product development stage, it is going to be qualitative analysis. Market testing and early introduction. See, there too you will go for market research and consumer survey, because you are testing the product in the market before officially producing more, like launching the product. Launching the product, you understand the market size and strength and all that, buying capacity. So there too you will go with the qualitative techniques, especially consumer surveys and market research and all that. Then when you move on to growth, when you expand your facility, when you go in for more production planning, when you want to focus upon your sales and all that, then you will go in for your statistical techniques. So statistical technique initially you will go with, because you will be having less data since you are just in the growth stage, you will be going for normal time series analysis. But when you identify any pattern or any cause that is affecting your sales, then you will switch over to your regression analysis. So here, both your time series and causal has to go hand in hand. You will analyze the situation and understand where exactly which quantitative technique has to be applied. But anywhere after the growth stage, so when you are nearing the maturity stage, so that is where you will apply all your quantitative techniques and you will not go in for your qualitative techniques, right? Okay, so that was on today's session, wherein we started with Starbucks case study to understand why they failed in Australian market without doing proper research, market research. They entered into the market and uh, uh, miserably failed in Australian market, after which we proceeded to understand what are all the quantitative techniques. So under that we saw 2, one is the time series and the causal, and under time series we saw about the simple moving average, exponential smoothing and the ARIMA model. And the other side we saw about the causal techniques, which is also called as the associative models. And we saw about the regression analysis, econometrics model, and the lead indicator model. And also towards the end, even under quantitative technique, which one we need to choose, whether it is a time series or the causal method. So with the historic data in hand, apply the available data and check what is the pattern of movement. So that will give you an idea to come back and apply or use the exact model that is required for your prediction, for demand prediction or sales prediction, anything, right? That was on that. So I have given Amazon forecast case study here as an additional reading. How Amazon used to do their forecast with machine learning, using algorithms and all that. See, now actually they started with the time series forecasting method, right? So now literally nobody is sitting and doing even in Excel with 2 period, 4 period and all that. So ERP systems are there, sophisticated tools are being installed by all these brands and organizations. So which itself will come out with the technique, it will suggest the pattern movement of patterned movement of data and suggest us the inventory level. So ultimately, these techniques are being done to arrive at the corresponding inventory levels to plan our production, right? So just go through this case study. Right. Fine. So any doubts so far? So tomorrow we'll be dealing with inventory, which is a continuation of this forecasting. Because with forecasting results only, we are going to identify or understand or fix up the inventory levels. Right? So, any doubts? Shall we wind up? Fine. So, yeah, thank you, Vijay. See you all tomorrow. Okay, Jyotishman, see you all tomorrow. So, two things I need to share this Excel sheet also. First, I need to check where the graph was going wrong for me. Okay, fine. Thank you, all of you. See you all tomorrow morning, 10:30 in session 3. So, till then, have a nice day. Good night to all of you. Bye.